Now up next we have our esteemed grown-up guest, Rochelle Calhoun. She's the Vice President for Student Life, which means she oversees like 10 different things: athletics, campus recreation, career services, Otis, Office of Religious Life, Pace Center for Civic Engagement, and University Health Services. So I'm gonna ask her to look at this weird-looking mole I've got on my arm. But please welcome to the stage, Rochelle Calhoun. So you actually majored in theater and politics in undergrad and then went on to get your master's in theater at Columbia. So I think everybody here is wondering, how did you get into university administration?
Well, when I was at Columbia, we had to do practicums every semester, and I got assigned to work at Playwrights Horizons, which was a theater school for NYU. And when I got there, I was there to teach directing, and it was a new studio school, and it was a mess. And so, partially working with the colleagues that were there, we had a lot of great artists. You know, they came in and they were, teaching set design or directing. So William Ivy Long, he's won a million Tonys, and Anne Bogart, who's a director. But they were really just not thinking about how to organize the theater. They were thinking about how to teach the things they were teaching. And so I started to try to organize. And I think from that, I had imagined I would go on and teach theater as well. But once I started to kind of get into fixing things and working on things and fixing students, I just got hooked. So it really, that's how it all started. I really got very interested in the workings of the administration of higher education, and so it kind of went from there.
So speaking of fixing students, you've worked at like a number of previous universities as well. So I just wanted to ask you, how does the Princeton student campus culture compare to those other schools in both good ways and bad?
Well, in good ways. I'm always impressed, and tonight's a great example, that Princeton students, whatever they're doing, whether it's their academic work or their co-curricular work or,
Academic work?
I've been to class in weeks.
We'll have to talk about that. Princeton students do things really, really well. Bring a lot of energy and passion and, just hard work to things. So that's really wonderful and in some ways a little different because you sort of put all of the energy in sort of achieving, which is great. But it's also the part that can be a little hard, right? Because one of the other things I've noticed that's different, and I'm not going to say it's bad, but it's different from other places I've been, is the intensity of the Princeton experience.
I'd say that's bad.
And so that's a different thing. And so I'm often hearing students talk about their own stress or the stress of their friends. And so one of the things we want to do in campus life is really try to turn it down. So to work with students and sort of think about, how to de-stress the environment a little bit and the experience a little bit.
Very cool. So you work a lot with students, and you've been involved in a bunch of projects in the past year or so. So which of those have been, in your opinion, like the most influential?
Well, I really enjoyed the sort of whole redo we did on orientation and bringing the new first-year students in. Really, Tom Dunn and Amanda Zelmer really take the credit for that, but it's been a real pleasure to kind of bring something to the implementation, point, and really feel like it was a good experience, not just for the students, but for some of the upper class students who were working, who were leaders and advisors for that whole process. So that was great. The other thing that's been really fun is sort of the redo on the Carl Phil Center, which has been, I think an awesome renovation of that center, and I think re-enlivened what we hoped it would be in terms of drawing all students in, but as a place to really kind of come together and get to work across difference and learn about each other and learn about different cultures, so I think that's been a great project to be a part of too. So that was
I
another.
still think they should have a field, Like if that's in the name, we should have a field. But I like the field.
We should consider that.
Volleyball games.
Yeah, I like that.
So now you
She should go to class more.
Yikes. So you've talked a fair amount now about your actual work, but I was wondering, or we were both wondering actually, are there any perks of being vice president of student life? Like, do you get to go on any trips or any like events you get to go to, that kind of thing?
You know the best part? Parking.
Parking, Nassau Hall.
Very close. I get to park almost anywhere. I've never had that in my life.
Wow.
Who knew? I know. You would have thought it was. I could have raised my sights a little higher, but parking.
No, I mean, the job has parking wherever you want. Take that job. But so when you aren't dealing with student life, do you have any like hobbies of your own?
I do. I have a couple of hobbies. Well, one I feel like I inherited a hobby. My father was in the Air Force and he was career Air Force, and so he traveled quite a bit around the world. And my mother would collect dolls in traditional dress from wherever they were traveling. And so now I've got all of the dolls she collected, and now I've started to collect dolls from all the places I've had an opportunity to go to. And if you come in my office, you'll see a little bit of that collection. And so that's one hobby.
Very cool.
Yes, I like it.
And can the dolls park wherever they want to?
As long as they're with me. So yeah, so that's one collection. And hobby, yeah. I also have this. I knit, and I only know how to knit scarves.
Careful now, that's a little too outrageous.
I know. And so I've knit a scarf for everyone in my family, and so my son, who got the first scarf, is afraid I'm going to start all over again and give him another scarf.
Oh no, you can never have two scarves.
No, you should. That's another little hobby I have. I knit.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You are possibly best known among the student community for sending us emails. Can you talk about that? That wasn't always the thing. When things used to happen on campus and people would want to talk about them, there wasn't always like an official response from the administration right away, and that's kind of a new thing. So how did you get into that role?
Well, I've always done that. I've always, in my previous institutions and previous jobs, I've always tried to figure out a way to connect with students. I used to write letters. I mean, that's how long I've been doing this work. I used to actually write letters.
By the oil lamp light. Not that long ago.
But now, so just a way to connect with students, to keep, sort of to keep everyone informed, but also just to, it's sort of a way to build community, I think,
Yeah.
to just be able to be in touch. And I hope people read that.
Every single one. I have them memorized and hung up on my wall in my room.
Thank you. I like that.
That's what I do instead of going to class.
I forgive you.
Well, so as Vice President of Student Life, I was just hoping you could give us, a little bit of insight into how the university is possibly going to be handling the events of the last week. Because, we've already received an email from President Eisgruber, but I was wondering, are there, events that the university is sponsoring or hosting or that kind of thing?
Sure. So, this past week, the center, so the Carla Phil Center and the LGBT Center and the Women's Center, and also the Office of Religious Life, really wanted to create an opportunity for people to just gather and to be able to be in community and talk. And now and I've heard that many classes also, professors really sort of allowed students to have an opportunity just to try to make sense of everything and really to try to think of where do we kind of go from here, given that there's so much so much feeling about the results of the election. Also, the colleges had created opportunities. So we felt like that was the first thing we wanted to do, was just to kind of do a little caretaking and community building and conversations. We think now we're going to be working with different academic departments and other administrative offices on campus to start to really think about sort of the more academic intellectual ways of thinking about and making sense of the elections, and both what's led up to it and sort of as we think about what's in our future. And so we will be in touch soon with sort of what students can look forward to and different panels that will be organizing, some programs that we'll be putting together. So we hope to keep the conversation going. I think that's what Princeton, I think, can do really well, is to really use all these young, wonderful, brilliant minds to help us all kind of think about what is our future really together.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh!